Welcome to Whistleblowers in partnership with Wix Trade Pro. Right, welcome to Whistleblowers. This is the bonus ball, the extra little episode where you get even more Clattenburg and Ladyman, which sounds like the worst law firm on the planet. Ian Ladyman and Mark Clattenburg, we've been sent a great question by Henry this week, and it's appropriate because it was on my mind as well. The question is, who are the most unappreciated or underappreciated players in the Premier League? And again, I know I'm like a broken record with John McGinn, but there's a great little documentary about him now. He's reached a milestone in his Villa career, talking about how his name might not be the most exotic and somebody might come in for £50 million, but he still feels like he is the best player in his position at Aston Villa and deserves to be there. But he did it in a really humble way. And, you know, if you speak to Villa fans, I don't think John McGinn is appreciated outside of Villa in the way he is inside Villa. He's a solid player.
Well, that in itself smacks of underappreciation by describing him as a solid player. He's much more than a solid player. He's a really talented player. If he was, not that this should be the only metric we use, but if he was English, would he get in the England squad? He'd probably have had a few caps by now, I'd say. He's a very, very good player. You know, almost scored. We've talked in the last week's podcast about the brilliant goals that Scotland scored when they beat Denmark. He almost scored one just before.
One in the top corner. It was inches away. Yeah.
Technically brilliant, set pieces, got a great engine, goals, great attitude, knows his position, works hard defensively.
He scored an almost Tony Yeboah-like goal for Villa when they got promoted that season, which I
more,
still watch about once a week.
What more do you need? And you can spot these players, can't you? Because when clubs go through transitional periods, there are good players who fall by the wayside, and the average players certainly fall by the wayside, and there's always a couple who go from one era to the next. That's John McGinn.
Do you know, there's something that we don't talk about a lot when we're analysing great players, right? But when he played for Hibs, I always had a feeling, even when we went behind, that we would win or get a draw or escape with something, because his ability to lift a team and never give up, like even if you were 3-0 down, with him in the team, you felt like he could just grab the game by the scruff of the neck and turn things round, just with a little bit of that grit and determination, using his big arse to turn somebody in the pitch. And again, I think that isn't... If you look at the great teams of the last 25 years, there's always been one player. You know, United, you could argue Roy Keane, you never thought they were going to lose with him in the team, even if they were down.
See, I like that, because when things aren't going right on the pitch, sometimes the manager or the coach can't change anything, can you? But the look to that player, and I think Villa look
to John McGinn.
To John, to get some answers, because he's going to drive them forward. Would you put him as one of the most gifted footballers, world-class footballers, like you would say with Ronaldo, your Messis and this? No, he's not. But he's invaluable to Scotland and Villa. And I get what Ian said. Would he have started for England? He would definitely have some caps. I wouldn't say he would have lots of caps, but he would certainly have some caps. But when I look at him, I agree with you, Gordon, that he drives the team forward, and sometimes probably in the dressing room, around the team, he's needed.
That's it though, Mark, as well. It's about driving standards. It's about driving standards. And I think if we talk about this subject, I was thinking about it on the way down, unsung heroes, or however you want to describe them, or Roy Evans, the great Liverpool coach who briefly managed Liverpool, used to describe them as glue men. I know it's not particularly, it doesn't trip off your tongue, wouldn't work in a headline, but it's self-explanatory.
A great description.
The players who glue teams together. And Roy, I was talking to Roy just when Liverpool were about to win the COVID title, first title in 30 years, and he was describing Jordan Henderson as that glue character. And Everton, for example, that glue character is Seamus Coleman. I mean, the fact that Seamus is still there, new contract, it's not first pick, but I had a look this morning. He's played games. What about this? Seamus Coleman, £60,000.
Was it 80,000, 60,000?
Oh, 60 when I read it this morning.
80,000 euros, £60,000.
£60,000, right?
My goodness.
He's now played 432 times, and that it works out at £139 per game. Now that is what you call football value for money.
At that level.
And when you're at that level, at a time when Everton have been on this roller coaster like they have, and the fact that he's still in the team, but it's also
club legend.
What he represents. I remember sitting down with him 10 years ago when he was And him telling me then that as a lad coming home from Ireland, he remembered how lonely it was. And he told me, he said, these days when we get young kids come over, and some of them just adapt straight away, and you can tell, and others you can tell. And he said, what I do, he says, me and his fiancée at the time, I presume she's his wife now, we just get him around for dinner. We don't tell anyone, but we just get the younger lads around for dinner and make sure, that
that's such a class act, isn't it?
And that's the type of thing that helps the club roll on and roll forward.
John McGinn's story's brilliant as well. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but he had a strength and conditioning coach, a guy called Craig McGinley, and they really worked on his thighs and his bum to give him a bit more strength. But apparently he doesn't do a lot of gym, and physically he's in incredible shape. But when he was at St Mirren, Stephen Thompson, who was at Burnley, I think he was at Cardiff as well, wasn't he? Rangers, Dundee United. He threw one of the poles across the pitch, and it went through John McGinn's thigh. And they thought it might have ended his career.
Like a javelin?
Like a javelin, like one of the...
Corner flag. Like a
slalom pole.
Yeah, slalom pole. Went through his thigh. And the insurance implications were so bad for St Mirren, they had to sell him on, and that's how Hibs got him. But it's an amazing story.
I love that. Wow. You don't get rid of the bloke who threw the ball, you get rid of the bloke who took it in the thigh.
I don't think they could afford to pay the
insurance.
Couldn't afford to pay to get it out.
But it's an amazing story. The story's incredible, and he's got two lovely brothers.
Only in Scotland.
It's an amazing story,
Scottish
isn't it?
Football.
Stephen Thompson apparently still so ashamed about it. It's a massive story. But he's got two brothers, Stephen McGinn and Paul McGinn, and Paul played for Hibs as well. And great professionals.
Then you wonder why someone like John McGinn, with respect to Villa, blah, 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 hasn't been picked up by a bigger, in inverted commas.
I can give you a little story about that as well.
Getting the Man United team.
Well, can I tell you that story?
Yeah.
I was at Manchester United, and long story, we took my son there, knew a few of the folk there, Scottish connections, blah, blah, blah. And Dean Smith said to John McGinn, whatever you do, don't go and see Sir Alex Ferguson, because I know what he's trying to do, because he was trying to sign him. So sure enough, John came up to say hello, and we were chatting away. And he went in to see Sir Alex, or Saf as they call him, Sir Alex Ferguson. And Dean Smith down the court, John, I fucking told you. I think he got a club fine for breaking the rule to go and see Sir Alex, because I think John McGinn's grandfather played for Celtic, didn't he?
I don't know.
And there was a connection there. And anyway, he was told not to go, because I'm pretty sure, I can tell you that United were keen on him. It would have been I think it would have been a bloody brilliant signing.
It would have been a good signing.
Exactly what United needed, a little bit of muscle in there.
Over the last few years, certainly.
So the question, go back to Henry then.
The one I appreciate, I'm going to say this from a Newcastle United fan, is Jacob Murphy.
Yeah.
They got him from Norwich.
I love watching him.
For very little money. And it might have been 12 million, might have been somewhere around about that figure. I think he came with his brother as well. There was his brother as well.
Little money.
And but you know what? What I like about a player, we've criticised Jude Bellingham, for example, the way he conducts himself on and off the field. I remember Jacob Murphy. We had a player sent off in the first half. I think it was Fabian Schär against Southampton. And who was the one that was sacrificed? Jacob Murphy. And what did he do? Give everybody a round of applause. Give Eddie Howe a cuddle. Big smile on his face. Not happy, of course, that he's been sacrificed, but he knew he was sacrificed for the team, not himself. And he's one of 100%. Even though he's not the most gifted player, works hard, defensively forward. He made probably Isak better than probably Isak thinks he is, because Murphy's contributions, I remember there was times when the balls were played in from Murphy on a plate. On a plate for Isak, he couldn't miss. And that was all of his hard work. And it was interesting at the start of the season, because Newcastle were trying to build a new team to go forward again. And they brought Anthony Elanga. And everybody thinks Anthony Elanga comes straight in, 55 million, comes straight into the team. Murphy, not in the starting lineup, not really getting off the bench. All of a sudden, after 2-3 games of not scoring Newcastle, who comes back? Murphy. We start scoring again. And it's interesting that his hard work, but going back again to John McGinn, he's another player that not necessarily drives the team forward, but he's a team player.
Yeah.
He
sacrifices himself for the team. And when a Newcastle player does that, there's only one winner. The fans will love him, and they do.
Yeah. But there's also a fine balance there, isn't there, between being someone who's generous and a team player, but also someone who can be too nice. Because managers, I've just been reading Gareth Southgate's book, which isn't very good, by the way.
Did you buy it? No.
Pass.
Did you buy Mark's book?
Let's just say it was delivered to my house. Anyway, I was reading bits of it, and in it, Guy was talking about how difficult it is to talk to players about bad news, give players bad news. And we know what bad news means. You're not playing or selling it. And I sometimes think that if you're a player and it's easier for a manager to give you bad news, that it might be easier to give the bloke over there bad news. You might be the one who gets the bad news. So what I'm saying is, I think as a player, you've got to can't be too nice, because otherwise you're the guy who ends up getting shoved in the corner a little bit. Do you know what I'm saying?
It's my career at 5 Live.
I understand that, because Murphy's an example of that.
Yeah, you don't want to be...
That he got sacrificed wrongly, because last season he was probably one of Newcastle's best players.
The squeakiest wheel gets seen first, but you do need to have an element of that, I think, don't you? A little bit of an edge.
And you're right what you said, Mark, about he definitely seemed to have almost a telepathic thing going on with Isaac for a period last season, when the two of them, between them, were responsible for so many goals.
So other names then? Who else would fit the category then of unsung heroes?
I'm going to go for Ryan Yates at Nottingham Forest.
Brilliant.
This is a real cliche, but it's cliche because it's true. I think that in the way that the Premier League's evolved in the last 20 years with so many players from all around the world, I do think that clubs that can somehow cling on to a little bit of that local mentality in the dressing room, I think is important. And Ryan, he was actually born in Lincoln, which is just up the road from Forest. He was an academy lad. He counts as local. I went to interview Callum Hudson-Odoi at Forest last year. Lovely lad, and sat down and we're in this room, and there's 2 Nottingham Forest European Cups on the wall behind him, like a mural. And I said, "Oh, what do you think when you saw those?" And he was really honest. And he said, "Well, when I came, I didn't really know." And people might say, "Really?"
Wow.
Yeah, but these lads are young, Gordon.
Okay? I do remember this now.
Forest won the European Cups in...
Well, I'm 45.
Right, I'm 56.
Right.
And Mark's 32. And they won their European Cups a long time ago.
Aye.
Okay? And we just presume that all the players who turn up and play for them will understand it, and they'll all know who Brian Clough is, and they'll all know the stories. And they don't. And Callum was honest with me. He said, "I didn't know it when I came, but I know it now, and now I get it." But when you've got Ryan Yates in there, you'll know it.
He gets it.
You'll know it. And if you don't find out yourself, you'll soon learn. Yeah. And you can't do that unless you're a very good footballer as well. And he is a good footballer, but how many players have churned through Forest since he got promoted 3 or 4 years ago? Dozens and dozens. And he's survived. Now, you don't survive without being a good player, but he's also survived on the back of character. I remember being at a game last year at the City Ground, a night game, when they beat Manchester United or drew with Manchester United. And Ryan Yates was basically, I presume under instruction from Nuno, was just he spent the whole 90 minutes being a complete pain in the arse to Casemiro and Bruno. Seriously, to the point where every time Casemiro turned round, this fella was there.
Yeah.
And who got hooked in the end? Casemiro. Because he'd been booked for one bit of argy-bargy, and in the end, Amorim thinks, got to get this guy off. Yeah. And that makes what that does is massively downgrades what Ryan Yates can do as a footballer. But the bottom line is, some of these guys,
he understood.
John McGinn, we've talked about already. It's about more than the football.
But it's interesting with Ryan Yates, because what I saw with Forest over the last few years, it's interesting.
He's a nice kid as well.
Oh, he's an absolute fantastic guy. But what's funny is, not funny for him, but you watch the path when he makes his, he comes back and makes regular appearances, is when Nottingham Forest are not playing very well. When Forest are sky high, Ryan really wasn't in the team. He was part of the team, because he's certainly one of the players at the 5 players that would be with the coach, like one of the management, players management or whatever. But when Forest weren't playing very well, who came back into the team? Ryan Yates. But what I loved about Ryan Yates and how he's such a Nottingham Forest through and through was, and people wouldn't have seen it, was a quarter-final game in the Cup
Oh,
and he sacrificed himself for a yellow card. He had to take the yellow card, meaning he was going to miss the semi-final.
Wembley.
And that boy sacrificed himself for the team. And what he did, and what was an amazing thing, he goes on, one of the national broadcast, I think it was BBC, whatever, does an interview before the game, knowing he was suspended, and his interview was unbelievably humble, and how he didn't care about himself. All he cared about was his club. And bearing in mind, he's missing a semi-final against Manchester City at Wembley.
And what a surprise, by the way, Forest then go into that game and just never turn up.
Yeah.
One game all year,
season they didn't turn up.
Yeah,
and that was that. You know what a bloke that can do that, because you're hurting inside, but he took one.
Brilliant.
In this
class. Jacob Murphy, Ryan Yates, and John McGinn.
Seamus Coleman.
And Mark Clattenburg, PJ Well.
I mean, humility. Nothing says underrated humility like Saudi Arabia go watch, man. Right now then, boys, before we get back to it, a bit of a shout out to our partners at Wix Trade Pro, because I found myself in the middle of a bit of DIY. I was putting some shelves up and I was short of wall plugs, which is not where you want to be, Ian.
Classic. Let me guess. You jumped on the app?
Exactly that, Ian. The rapid delivery thing is fantastic. I had what I needed within 3 hours. Saved the day.
What, 3 hours? That's quicker than some VAR decisions.
True that. And the beauty of it, Trade Pro members save 10% every time they shop, in-store or online. No minimum spend, no faff.
Yeah, it's built to save tradespeople time and money, and it's proper handy if you're caught short midway through the job and you need some extra kit.
So if you're in the trade, download the Wix Trade Pro app and sign up today.
That's Wix Trade Pro, helping you get the job done without the last-minute panic. It's time now for football from the inside out. And Ian, you've got a question for me.
Very, very simple for you, Gordon. If you could replay and change one sporting moment in your life, either with you playing or you watching, what would it be?
Right, okay. Me watching, there was a terrible, terrible run of form when Hibs employed Terry Butcher. I think it was 19 games without a win, and we were relegated, and we lost a penalty shootout in the playoff against Hamilton Acast. I think Alex Neil was the manager, who you'll be familiar with. Yeah. And I think almost all of those 19 games I'd like to replay, because it was a disaster. And we had Terry Butcher on as a guest.
He did, yeah.
And again, a mate of mine was working at the club at the time, and he was involved in the fitness side of it. And Terry Butcher said to him after the first game, "Strength and conditioning wanker, get off the bus and get 30 fish suppers for the boys." Oh. And he said, "I disagree. The last thing they should be doing is carb loading and having a load of fat after a performance like that. Get off the bus." So he went off, got 30 fish suppers, handed them to Terry Butcher. The bus got off and drove away without him. So the fish supper incident would be one that I would replay, and also those, particularly the penalty shootout. But those 19 games as a football fan, I think about it a lot, because that put Hibs down for a long time. Because if you remember, Hearts, Hibs and Rangers were all relegated for about, there was a 3-season, Rangers were on their way back up after they'd been sort of broken down as a club. Sevco, a new start-up football club, and Hearts got back up, and we got stuck there for a while. It was painful.
I wish you'd have told Terry that story when we had him on as a guest.
I thought about it, but he's still quite a big man, isn't he?
It was on Zoom. He couldn't have come for you.
He'd find me.
My main memory of that interview we did with Terry, it's one of our first, I told him that story about how that picture of him bloodied and battered for England, I'd had it as a teenager, and I'd taken it through almost flat shares that I'd lived in, and taking it with me because it meant something to me. And he said, "You sad bastard." I expected him to be really flattered.
Really flattered.
He just said, "You sad little man." Well,
that's amazing.
I would say it's interesting. I would, if you've got one, Mark, I would say the England national team. I was really invested in the England team when I was a kid, like you would be with Scotland. And I remember Euro 96. So let me get this right. So I was only, 20-something, 25 or something, and 26. And I was there as a fan. And the England-Germany semi-final, now we know what happened with the penalties and all the rest of it, but do you remember that Gaza moment? Do you remember it? In extra time, when somebody gets down the right and they cross it, and he's at the far post, and it's a
Shearer,
tapping.
wasn't it? Shearer passed it to him.
And the reason that he hesitates is because there's a defender, and he thinks it's coming to him, and the German defender gets a slight toe end on it, and that toe end takes it from within Gazza's reach to out of his reach. And everyone says, why didn't Gazza anticipate that? He did what he hadn't anticipated was the toe end. And that's the difference between because the German beat the Czechs in the final. Yeah. I'm not saying that would have been an easy game for us, but it would have been an opportunity. And it's little things like that you
think about them for a long time.
I bet Gazza thought about that for a long time as well.
Yeah.
Mine was a Monday night when I was younger, and we played Manchester United live on Sky, Newcastle, at St James's.
Cantona goal.
Yeah.
Cantona goal. You battered them.
I think it was David Batty's debut for Newcastle. He was outstanding. And we absolutely tore United apart. Schmeichel was an absolute hero.
Yeah.
And Cantona did what Cantona always does, pops up, wins 1-0, and psychologically that turned the championship. We could have won the Premier League.
When was the Kevin Keegan rant around? Was that?
That was at that time, because we lost that, then we started dropping points. We lost 4-3 against Liverpool when he ranted, and then the final sword was or the final nail in the coffin, should I say, was Blackburn Rovers away.
Yeah.
And it was a Geordie boy that scored the goal that actually stopped us winning the title. A guy called Graham Fenton.
Yeah, I loved watching Newcastle that season. They were so good when they kicked.
The entertainer. It was
brilliant, wasn't it?
It was every week, every Sunday. It was horrific for me liver, because we would finish work on a Sunday afternoon. Yeah. Me and this guy would go to Wickham to the pub, watch the entertainers, have a good drink, watching the match. Always happy because there was games, and I'll never forget one game in particular that season, or one of the seasons, and we're getting beat 3-1 against Leicester at home. I think Heskey had scored, and then Shearer decided to do what Shearer always does, and he banged a hat-trick, and we ended up winning 4-3, and that was typical Kevin Keegan. We'll concede 3, but we'll score 4.
Yeah.
And that's what got the whole, everybody was wanting to watch Newcastle on a Sunday afternoon, because it was just pure entertainment.
Great sadness about that, I think, is when you remember that version of Keegan, to the version of Keegan that I then worked with when he came out of England and into Manchester.
He talked about this a bit, yeah.
And I watched one of those programmes recently, Entertainers, and Keegan used to invite fans to training. Imagine that now. Keegan's view was very much, we're a very good team, we've got very good players, this is how we're going to play, there's no secret about it. So he'd invite fans to training, he would take journalists not to the pub but to the local cafe and sit and talk. And that kind of incredible boyish enthusiasm that Keegan brought to playing for the clubs that he played for, he brought to management, and Mark will know better than me, it lifted the football club. It lifted his city.
It was the city more than the club. The city came with the club,
and they played in his image. And it was such a shame that they couldn't take the next step and win it. And then England just ruined him. England just ruined him.
But he was always
ruined him. He was so bitter by the time he got to City. First time I met him, sat down, and press conferences at City then, they're in the Championship. We weren't even in the top flight when I moved to Manchester. Just round a table in a room at the old training ground. It wasn't a traditional press conference situation. Just go and sit around the table with the national press. And I walked in first time. I happened to sit next to him. I said, "Hi, Kevin, I'm Ian from the Daily Mail." And he said, "Okay, Ian." He said, "Well, I know who you are now." He said, "I hate your newspaper." And that was fine, whatever. Yeah. I wasn't there to be his friend, but that was where he'd got to. That's what England had done to Kevin Keegan.
It's like with him, it, like you said about the city, he left in the right way. Helicopter out the stadium, it was like this theatre moment. So the fans loved him. So when he came back as a manager, but if you look at that back of that team, you talked about Gillespie. One player in particular they bought,
Albert.
And it was Philip Albert was one, but there was another one, David Ginola. That bloke was for Newcastle to see a player of that quality and do what he used to do to fullbacks. He used to turn them one way. You would think, go past him, and then he would think, no, I'm bored, I'll go past him again and again and again.
He was a big unit as well, that's the thing. He was a big, strong boy, What a player.
But then Lee Clark, play like Lee Clark.
Yeah. Steve Watson.
Really good player.
Steve Watson. Warren Barton
Yeah.
John. I still talk to
Rob
John,
Lee.
John Beresford and Warren Barton. I still talk to them, and they laugh because they say our job was the worst job in the world because we had two wingers that never defended.
Pavel Sornicek.
Yeah,
poor
late
Pavel,
Pavel for a second. What he did, you know, standing on the steps when they sold coal.
That was brilliant. That's great management.
Imagine that now.
man.
Now it'd be like a club social media post, wouldn't it, to explain it?
It would be.
But just real, so real. And I'm not saying you can never have that again in the Premier League, because you probably can.
Yeah.
But very rare.
Right, boys, that's it for the latest episode. Thank you very much for your time. Please get in touch. Daily Mail, whistleblowers@dailymail.com. Mark, would you do the honours, please?
Mate, I have to say, he's done better than Andy Dillon.
Well, think I'll get another go next week?
Don't know.
So I better blow the full-time whistle.
I don't know. We've still got your cup to play for, haven't we?
Oh, where's the cup?
Is it here? Is it still? Please.
Oh no, we've got the cup. We'll tell you after this. Oh no, we'll quickly tell you the
hang on
cup.
a minute.
So no, it's a West Ham. It's a West Ham Newcastle cup.
There's a load of in-jokes that I don't understand.
Did you not listen to the last podcast?
Don't tell him. Don't tell him. We'll keep
all
it,
right,
don't
all
tell
right.
him.
I'm going to blow the full-time whistle.
Thank you very much for watching Whistleblowers. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Remember, episodes every Thursday and Tuesday. And on a Sunday, you'll get our clip of the week.